Over there. Did like I got the notes or
your shoulder on
a year before stronger than the rehab.
That makes sense. I see what you're saying. So make sure you get 30 years of rehab.
I didn't know if there's like secret. I was like,
But I think where it shows me.
that's how it
Release that information, but I'll leave
is.
it.
Yeah.
I'll leave
Also that?
Test.
Joe Kramer. Okay, yeah.
Arch for me. Good.
I need to.
Cheers. I got silent one. Like,
I don't know. I don't like looking at you.
Testing. Test.
I heard. I know, Jessica. I know you're gonna apply it to many. So like, I would want what I have and see if I'm just missing a step or
Yeah.
I haven't asked Mr. Randall though. He may wanna try to figure out. We just needed to know that
On my shoulder.
What?
You gotta get emotional.
I just heard him stopping and I just felt.
When did it take you to find it around? When did it take you to find it around?
Test.
You could just leave, just wait till you get home. No matter how many.
Test.
You're welcome.
Just hit somebody's signal if it's not.
have you ever seen like?
Not special.
Sorry.
Just fancy.
I mean, you did sign up.
When you guys come up.
How to memorize my next word.
So you don't.
Yeah, I think someone sent you a
And then he was like, I was like, hey,
Pluto and you.
Tonight, talk about
I
He doesn't see me. He's not here. Because I'm very much in it. I'm like,
I would just say I don't.
I did my best.
You guys have to.
No. Say, like this. Ew, don't say that about
Well, you rubbed it. I can't go back.
Like David's just like.
No, you passed it. Giving your back to the people that's doing
hey, you? I haven't seen you in so long. How
High school.
whatever they ask you, you just walk over there.
Test, test.
Oh, yeah.
Both of you. Touch the roof.
Wait, let's see, I'm gonna this is this. Oh, I'm gonna find this. I just find this. I put the
I'm trying to, because I think it's scary. You like to
No, I
look
think
down.
it's scarier. When he does something.
I could look in.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
Not that.
360 when you I know that person. I sound great.
the left of it.
Behind.
What time?
Oh, the dude. He looks like.
How am I?
That's where your sister. Left, right.
No. Oh, way far back. It's like a teacher.
Casey.
One of those faces.
No, personally, I think everyone of my teachers make
Guys are back to. I think Ricky smelled it.
It says in my.
I don't
write that up anymore, so I don't know.
I just know that.
To be fair, it's like, my kids don't stay out here.
They're gonna be,
Everybody spoil your
Tina's mom. This morning.
was here.
I'm such an asshole. I used to like, I didn't think this at the time, but now that I look. Well, I'd put my chin on top of the desk. And I think that was pretty neat.
Like
CO2.
I don't really care. I clean them and everything for them. I'm gonna wear dress shoes. It feels like if I wear them for more than like 4 hours. Ask them, by the way.
Oh, I guess.
Entonces se va a sentar aquí, pero no sé si le expliqué.
She can deliver it.
All right, good evening. It's Tuesday, April 26, 2022. It is 5 p.m. and this is the regular meeting of the Governing Board of Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District. With that, would you please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Shadler, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the
Flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Ms. Susan Fobian,
Present.
Mr. Renee Ramirez,
Here.
Mr. Brad Beach,
Present.
Mr. John Hayes, are you here? You are not here. Okay. And myself, Joel Kramer. We do have 4 members. We do have a quorum. With that, we turn it over to adoption of the agenda. Mr. Verdugo.
Just one recommendation, if we could switch item A and B under presentations so that we can recognize the Rio Rico High School students and faculty first.
You said that stuff, and I was wondering, well, okay. Yes. All right. Then with that said, do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda with the recommendations stated by Mr. Verdugo?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, item C, call to the public. No calls to the public. We just have all the public here. That's even better. All right. All right, we move on to presentations. And as Mr. Verdugo, we will start then with Rio Rico students and faculty recognition.
Yeah, I'd like to invite Mr. Estrada. He will be recognizing a room full of students and faculty this evening. So Mr. Estrada.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the governing board, district administration. Thank you for having us here this evening. Mr. Estrada, principal of Rio Rico High School, and excited, honored to present some amazing people here tonight. So one of the things that we talk about every Tuesday and Thursday in our announcements are our core values. And I have some of those students here that lead our announcements. We always end with our core values of rep. And as we were getting ready for this week, I had asked if we could recognize the people that are the epitome of what it means to rep at Rio Rico High School. I have 4 major groups I'd like to recognize here this evening. So if I can have Ms. Bachner, Ms. Bell, and Ms. Lurie Johnson come up with the Poetry Slam students, Leah, Myrene, Atticus, and Miguel. If you guys can come up first. So no, you're perfect right there. Basically. So presenting to you tonight, we said staffalty, students and staffalty. So staffalty is our word for combining teachers and staff together. So we're one team. But I wanted to recognize this group of individuals as Ms. Bachner and Ms. Bell put together a poetry project in their class. And the culminating part of that project was to then do the spoken word, right? And Ms. Johnson started the Dead Poets Society Club this year. And they worked together to put a great event together where students could showcase the spoken word. We had amazing student presentations that evening. It was held in the Performing Arts Center. And it was just a great way to see students study poetry and then bring it to life with their interests, right? So they got to write about their interests. They each had a personalized approach to what they wanted to speak about, and then bringing the spoken word to life and getting on stage and presenting their words to those that were present. So it was a great night. I wanted to recognize the students that received. So there was 2 parts to the evening. One part was students got to share their words, and the other part was students sharing their words in a competition style. The competition had voting from the public that was viewing, and then we had 3 teachers using a rubric to score for those winners. So the students here are the winners from that evening, and I'll just present them again. So we have Leah Gallo, Myrene Miranda, Atticus Perget, and Miguel Molina were our winners that evening. So congratulations. I just wanted to recognize. Each group is dynamic and different in their own regards. So, Mr. President, I don't know if you would like me to pause for questions for each group, or if you want me to just go through all the students and ask at the end. Very diverse.
Whatever you choose, whatever you want, that's
okay,
fine.
so we'll go ahead. If there are any questions for our teachers here or our students for the first annual Rio Rico Poetry Slam competition.
Mr. Beach.
Questions or comments?
Comments, questions?
Okay. No, you know what? I just want to congratulate all of you, especially the teachers, to putting together this poetry club. I guess is it a club?
Yeah.
You know, we always see the football, the baseball, the softball, the track, but you know what? There's little niches in our society, in our school system, that sort of are in the shadows. And you brought these young men and women out. I know it's very intimidating speaking in front of the public and to do poetry. So big accomplishment there. And I know Mira Miranda and Atticus Burkett, both of you were recognized by Cambridge as also receiving a very prestigious award from that program. So I want to congratulate all the teachers up there for what you do for these students, and all of you students. Congratulations.
Yes. Yeah, I'm waiting. No.
Well, Atticus, I met you back in middle school, and when I first heard your name, I always had this. I'm going to take my golden opportunity here to ask you this, because I never asked you before when you were in middle school, and I was a sub. But I always wondered where you got your name, Atticus, whether your parents gave you that from the book To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes, they did.
This is very unique.
Said the world could use another one.
Yeah. No, good for them. Had a lot of foresight. So, but Miss Johnson, I love the Dead Poets Club. I think that's really great. And it makes me think of that word carpe diem, those words carpe diem. And obviously you guys have seized the day. So congratulations for all that you've done. And like Mr. Beach says, it takes a lot of courage to do such a thing on stage. And but I want to to thank Ms. Johnson. I've known you for a while, even though we haven't worked together for a long time. But I know how dedicated you are, and it's so nice to see you having moved from social studies to English and be so successful. That's a very difficult subject to teach, and especially when you have to take all those writing samples, you know, a lot of grading there, a lot of unsung heroes, you know, in English. So Mr. Schaller can appreciate that. He probably remembers grading a lot of essays too. So, but I want to thank you for all that you did and all the students, and it's great. It's very creative endeavor of yours, and kudos to you. Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson, for all that you're doing at the high school. We really appreciate it.
I am thrilled that you got this program started, and I hope that you had a mix of not just a lot of seniors, but you had others that'll be coming up too. And
Sophomores, so.
okay,
Yeah, they're
great.
Very brave sophomores.
Yeah, it's a wonderful addition. It's great to see Rio Rico High School is getting so diverse and what the offerings are. So congratulations to everybody, and thank you, teachers.
Yes, congratulations, teachers and students. How many are coming back? Are all 4 of you seniors?
Junior.
We're juniors.
Well, hopefully then, not only doing it just locally, I don't know, Mr. Superintendent, but we should probably start a speech and debate team with the AIA. Shouldn't we be doing that as well to get our talent out there in the state?
Sounds good to me.
So hopefully that we get that going. And Mr. Estrada, we get the coaches in on that, because I believe that starts right over in August and goes throughout the year. So I think we can certainly get that going, so our talent will be seen across the state as well. So seniors, I'm sorry for those of you that didn't get a chance, but at least you're starting the precedence of hopefully that continues. Because it's not only enjoyable, but it's competitive as well. So hopefully we get that going too.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, teachers, for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you for recognizing our students and our teachers. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Is no one monitoring the chat?
Our next recognition, if I can have Ms. Bachner back up, please. So that was a culminating experience, bringing the sophomore class poetry project and then the Dead Poet Society Club together to have the slam poetry. In Ms. Bachner's poetry project, we had a student, and if we can have Nevaeh Mateus come up as well. Shout out to Nevaeh in front of you and our public and everyone here gathered. She submitted her poem to the Tucson Festival of Books competition and was awarded as a winner. And so her poem was published at the Tucson Festival of Books. Ms. Bachner and Ms. Bell were also in attendance at the event where she received her recognition. So I wanted to shout her out for her words being published. And the school was also sent a copy of the anthology, so we can keep that in our library for future recognition. So just congratulations to Nevaeh for your hard work and commitment and dedication. And if there are any questions about her or her poem, I'm sure she can share all about it.
Ms. Fogan, start.
Congratulations. I hope that you stay with poetry. You're obviously very good at it. And that poetry is one of the things that lets you get out a lot of emotion. It gives you a voice that you don't, it's not applicable everywhere. So poetry is a good mechanism for that. So congratulations.
Thank you so much for representing our community with pride. Thank you again.
Congratulations on the award, and continue with your interest in poetry, and congratulations to both of you.
Yes, congratulations. What grade are you in?
10.
10 to be 11. So we expect more for this, more. And this was what, the robot, my robot in me?
Yes.
Yes? Hopefully we can get a copy of that with autographed.
Might be worth something.
That's right. Someday that might be worth something. But congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. So in light of, as you mentioned, Mr. President, in light of recognizing all of our students and our different niches, as Mr. Beach mentioned, I'd love to call up the cast and crew from Greece. You guys wouldn't mind coming up? So I'm extremely humbled and excited to recognize the cast and crew from Greece. The arts are flourishing at Rio Rico High School, and with the new Performing Arts Center, it's exciting to see the kids produce and see their talents on stage. Under first year teacher and director, Ms. Carrasco, the cast and crew of Greece put on 4 great shows of the play. Regardless of the hiccup we had, right? We were still able, the show went on and we put on 4 great shows. But just seeing the students' talent on stage and the reception from the community was astounding. The constant feedback I received days after their performances and days after the play from students and community and parents alike was great. It was humbling experience for me and super proud of this group. The cast and crew, sometimes they don't get a lot of the limelight because they're the ones working when the stage is dark, right? So they do a tremendous job while there's no light, preparing the set, changing the scene, working the lighting, the sound. So I'm just so proud of this group and the show that they put on. And I want to mention 3 other special individuals that helped. So as you know, as part of our CTE program, we have stagecraft. And the students built the stage and the set themselves, but with the help of Mr. Burns, one of our parents was there. Mr. Burns back there. I believe Mr. Beamer is here as well. Is he here? No? Okay, sorry, I didn't see him. And then Mr. Beamer helped tremendously as a parent volunteer, and then Mr. Randy Johnson. So just getting the whole community involved. Randy is part of the Grace Church partnership that we have, and since he's a volunteer with us, he spent a lot of time with the stage crew working on the sound and the lighting. To ensure that they understood the new board and the system, so that everything went flawlessly. So it was just a great experience to watch, walking in and seeing sometimes the stressed out actors and actresses, just hearing different conversations. But then at the end of the day, after the show, seeing their faces, taking pictures in Grease Lightning the car. It'd be an understatement if I said their show was nothing but electrifying. So just wanted to recognize the cast and crew. President, any
I just think that maybe you would do the honors and introduce the cast and characters of this play, Grease. If you could do that.
I can see how good. Okay. So I'm gonna group them. So the pink ladies. So we had Raven Burns, and I don't remember your character. Raven, you want to come up? You want to say
Marty?
All right. So then we also had Miranda. Is Miranda here? Miranda was part of the Pink Ladies. Nope. Kayla was part of the Pink Ladies. You want to say your character?
I was Jan.
And then we had Trini as part of, well, kind of adopted Pink Lady. She was Sandy, right? So she becomes part of the Pink Ladies. And I'm missing Brianna. You're right in front of me. She was Frenchie. Played an amazing role as Frenchie. Okay. So then if we now go to the Greasers, we had Alana play one of the roles. What was your character?
I was Sunny.
Sunny. Carlos. Who were you, Carlos?
My character was Roger.
Roger. Atticus.
I played the role of Kaneki.
And then Casey.
I was Danny.
An actress I'll never forget. We had Sophia Tesso. Sophia, can you explain who you were?
I was Patty.
Patty. All right, let me see who else I have. Eugene. I just love calling him Eugene now. Eugene, can you come up and explain who you were?
It's Eugene.
I just see him as Eugene every time I see him on campus. Miss Lynch was Myrene was Miss Lynch. Right.
George was a
George.
Get in.
Duty. Sorry. All right. I think that was most of the cast. Oh, Sergio, and we had Sebastian, Sergio. Is Sergio here?
Yes.
Sergio.
I was Vince Fontaine.
Vince Fontaine. How can you forget the voice? Sebastian was part of Vince Fontaine's little crew, but I don't think Sebastian's here, correct? And then we had Enrique Gracia. Okay. I think I did pretty well, I would say.
Very well. Yes, I think they all needed to be recognized that way, certainly.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So any questions or comments?
Well, looking at you guys, I think I got chills and a multiplier. Yeah, one of my favorite movies. Yep, Olivia Newton-John, John Travolta. But you know what? Congratulations on a successful play in our new Performing Arts Center. The skills that you learn when you're acting, speaking in public, getting out there, letting yourself sort of be vulnerable is going to take you far in life. So continue with practicing drama. Every good play, you always have the people in the background, the ones that do the makeup, the lighting, the set building. So congrats to you guys in the back that helped make this play successful. So congratulations. And I'll definitely be there next year for the next play. Yep. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, it's very nice to see former students here. I was laughing. And it's nice to see you in a different environment than back in the days in Calabasas. Mr. Armida used to be so strict.
What do you mean?
So it's good to see you, a lot of you. And a lot of former students. I say that very reluctantly because Mr. Kramer will say that I'm very old. That's why I know so many people here. I have so many students over the years. But no, great job, guys. Really great job. And it's nice to see that you're so spirited at a young age. It's great. And you're just kicking back and being couch potatoes. So it's great. So hats off to you. Kudos. Good job and keep it up.
Thank you.
Well done. I look forward to your productions next year. And, it's so cohesive. You're such a good group, even though you did different things. And that's great to see. So thank you for your hard work.
We got one other person, a voice from above. I think Mr. Hayes, are you here?
I've been here. I haven't been heard, but I've been here.
There's your voice from above.
So congratulations to all. Job well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, congratulations to each and every one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know you did, because you wouldn't do this if you didn't enjoy it. I will say, for those that don't know, I did this when I was in high school too. And like Mr. Beach said, it does carry over to a lot of things in life, certainly. It makes you a heck of a lot more jovial at times too. So keep up the good work, each and every one of you. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So the last group of students I'd like to recognize, this week is National Student Leadership Week. And wanted to recognize our student leaders. We have three organizations here, and then we have other student leaders listed on the memo that I provided. All three organizations do a tremendous job of leading our campus. So if I can have our ASBA officers from Student Council come up. So our all student body representatives, we have Andrea, we have Vanessa Yesenia, and Maria Armenta. And then if I can have our class presidents come up from our student council. Class presidents, our senior class president is Ruben, our junior class is Casey, our sophomore class is Zamara, and our freshman class is Emmanuel Verdugo. And then if I can have the other student council members that are all present as well come up. And then Mr. Scott is our student council representative, our teacher advisor. Call up all three of the organizations, that way you can see. I just did that way so you can see it. If I can have the Interact Club officers come up with Miss Johnson as the teacher sponsor for our Interact officers. Interact officers are Evelyn, Sasha, Leah, and Angela. Miss Johnson's our sponsor. Then if I can have members of the Student Senate come up. Student Senate, if you're here. And then the other individuals, our Student Senate, and I'll talk about that in a second. If I can have our other leaders on campus, so the other individuals I'm recognizing this evening are students that just stand out all around. And that is Gus Pacheco. Michelle. Felix. Laurabel Quintero. Snackarath. Sandra Navarro. Atticus Burkett. De Leon. I wanted to recognize these individuals as it's National Student Leadership Week. I thought it was very important to bring them to the board so you guys can see and the community can see which students step up on campus and lead, and they lead in so many different ways. Our student council, they lead the positivity and culture of our school. They put on the pep assemblies, the spirit weeks, the appreciation days. There's just so much that they do every single day. Our Interact Club officers and our Interact Club, led by the officers and Ms. Johnson, do a tremendous job of impacting the community. They have a strong hold with our Rotary programs and are often called to present and or work alongside to bring great things to our community and our campus. The Student Senate is a diverse group of students that I meet with monthly to keep the school going in the direction that the students would like it to go. There are 46 individuals in the Student Senate. I know we have a small group here tonight to represent, but they literally capture every niche that we possibly can on campus. So they're involved in everything so that every voice is heard. One thing that did come up in a meeting was a speech and debate club. And then the other individuals that we have here just do an amazing job of advocating and leading on our campus, from just Gus leading the student section and the Dirty Birds and supporting like all athletes, to Thomas. If you guys haven't seen Thomas is a very special kid. He will be seen on campus doing all the right things. So Thomas is the guy that's going to open the door for you. He's going to pick up your trash if you left it on the table. He's going to go up to you and shake your hand and ask you how you're doing. The epitome of what it means to rep. Alana, I would say, as a freshman, is a great student advocate. She speaks up for her peers. She lets me know what I need to work on, and she's not afraid to call me out on it. So I appreciate the student accountability she provides for me. you see Atticus here, and Atticus has been tremendous impact in the two other groups as well that have been presented. Yesenia is part of our ROTC. She's the battalion commander. She leads that group. And the success you've seen with that has been under her leadership recently. So I was really excited to recognize her. Glory Bell Quintero is kind of a Swiss Army knife. She's involved in public law enforcement, ROTC, photo club, tennis, just a ton of things. I feel like I see her at everything, but she's just always representing well. I just can't be more proud and honored to recognize our students. I'll be spotlighting these groups of individuals all week on our social media, as you probably saw student council this week, but I'm honored to be the principal of Rio Rico High School because we have great kids like the ones that are here before you. So thank you.
Mr. Hayes.
Thank you. Job well done. And, it's a little hard to hear the names that were being mentioned, since when everybody starts clapping, the audio drops out completely. But I do want to pick on one person there, Mr. Estrada, and that's kind of the young person you mentioned that puts you to task and takes you to task. And I love that, because I think that that's something that a lot of times we miss out on, is the voice of the students and their perspective. So I do appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
Well, hats off to you for taking on leadership roles at such a young age, and let's hope that you continue to do that as you grow older, you move on to university and so forth. And God only knows we need good leaders in this world. So hats off to you. Keep it up. Thank you. Oh, and one more thing. Wow, we got a lot of people here wearing different hats, huh? Including even Miss Johnson doing all kinds of stuff. You must have a lot on your plate, you know? I keep seeing Atticus coming up over and over. So thank you, guys.
Congratulations to all of you. And it is super that you've chosen to be involved in your high school, and you'll remember it all your lives. Thanks for all your efforts.
Yeah, congratulations to all the student leadership standing in front of me, sponsors. You guys are the role models. You guys are the mentors for the students on campus. You guys set the environment there. You guys sort of, how should I say, with the activities, with the dances, with all the spirit stuff you do on that campus, it sort of sets the tone of that campus. So thank you for all you do for Mr. Estrada, because it makes his job a lot easier. And also for your fellow students to make that high school one of the top high schools in the state of Arizona. So appreciate it.
Yes, as everyone said, congratulations. Great job of being student leaders. Those of you that are graduate, who's the senior class president? Right here, right?
Yeah.
All right. You know, 10 years from now, you have to do the reunion. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Part of the job.
Yeah.
It never ended. With that said, though, that some of you that do go on to universities, I'm sure all of you are, hopefully, that if you do run for office in the universities, just so you know, if you do get elected, it's a tuition waiver. Just so you know, keep that in mind. I know at least at ASU, I know that was true. I don't know about U of A, but certainly ASU was. But that's something you guys certainly, hopefully, that are graduating. NAU, I don't know as well, but hopefully it does. A good job for being student leaders.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Secretary of Coaching College. Even at the junior college. Nobody ran against me. Just like at school.
Yeah, students, if you do want to leave, we'll give you time to leave. That's fine. Thank you. Good job. Good job, all of you.
See you guys.
para que tu novia. Ay, qué bonita tu novia.
Hey, how are you? How are you guys been?
No, but
Sí, la semana. ¿Cómo estás?
let the people do it.
You have to. That's right. What is it? How to see where you live up to it.
Yeah, I've been in this area since the 60s. It's been a while. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yep, I haven't seen you since 98. So what have you been up to? Everything? Well, thank you for dropping by and saying hi. Yep. Everything's going good though? Yeah. Well, good seeing you. I think you and I are sort of on the same. Okay. Ooh.
Don't play sports.
Yeah. All righty. We'll see you.
All right, we'll move on to parent liaisons recognition, Mr. David Verdugo and Mr. John Fanning.
I think I'd like to invite Mr. Fanning up. We are recognizing our parent liaisons this evening for all the hard work that they do. So Mr. Fanning.
That's not fair. You don't have the pressure.
Yeah. Mr. President, members of the board, district administration, thank you for allowing me once again to be here tonight. We have a incredible group of people that truly are deserving of this recognition, of the board recognition. We have our parent liaisons tonight. And before I start talking about parent liaisons, I'm going to probably embarrass those two over there because a good group of people needs good leadership as well. And without going into too much detail, the two people over here, Angie and Shannon, do an incredible job of making sure that our parent liaisons have everything that they need, all the tools that they need to be successful, and thus our community and our parents and our students' success. In fact, they just returned not too long ago from a training. We think it's very important. Professional development is incredibly important, especially in such a crucial, critical. Thank you. All right. Crucial, critical.
It was the trainers, that's what it was.
Yeah, right. Role that they play. So thank you to you two for all that you do. We don't have a plaque tonight, but we do have a buy one, get one free from Hendrix. So great job. A few things that I wrote down, a few things that they do, and each one of these in and of itself is an incredible feat. They work on the back to school blitz. They start right the day after the blitz is over. They start thinking about and meeting and making sure that next year's blitz is even better than the one before. So the back to school blitz, McKinney-Vento, they work with some of our neediest students in the district, and they keep on top of that and make sure that those students have everything they need, so that they don't have to worry about, when they're going to get their next pencil, how they're going to come to school, in what shape they're going to come to school. So great job. Kinder readiness. That's happening tomorrow, from what I understand. So they work on kinder readiness, making sure that our incoming kindergarten students are well taken care of. This year, we started the Stuff the Bus drive, and we took a large bus to Walmart, and there was a lot of people that were involved in helping that out. But our parent liaisons once again went above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that people were there, and they were there, making sure that we were able to stuff the bus. And then we came in here and we went through all the toys that were donated, And it was just a real special time. So they did that. They work on their school website and social media. Anything that you see having to do with the school may or may not come from our parent liaisons. I am part of the Rio Rico Rotary, and they are our right-hand person at times. When it comes to bikes for tykes, when it comes for jackets, when it comes to our Thanksgiving drive, the coin wars, they are instrumental. This year, if you can imagine $4,000, close to $4,000 worth of coins, that's a lot of coins, and that's all because of the people that are sitting to my left. They work on the school newsletter, school awards, parent trainings and classes, making sure that our parents are aware of what's happening in the schools. They're translators. I mean, they go anytime there's any type of after-school activity, whether it be parent-teacher conferences or any type of awards, they're there. They're part of the site council. They conduct home visits. They make connections with our students, which I think is one of the most important things. So simply put, our liaisons are truly the liaison between our district, our families, our community, our parents in the school district. So without further ado, I would like to call each one of them up individually and say thank you for a job well done to all of our parent liaisons. And like I mentioned a little bit ago, each one of them, we have local businesses that I reach out to on a pretty consistent basis. Not one business has said no. So they know what's happening in this district and they support what's happening in this district. So Hendricks is no different. They did a great job of coming forward. In fact, when I met with him about 2 months ago, kind of to lay the foundation for possibly coming back and asking for some assistance, he beat me to the punch. If you need anything, you come to me. So, we shout out to Hendricks for all that they do. First person, by the way, this is a buy one, get one free pizza at Hendricks. At the high school, Rio Rico High School, Yaira Duran. From Calabasas, Perla Garza.
Mr. Penny, come over here.
Is that? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
From Mountain View, Savannah Lopez. From San Cayetano, Claudina Puig. And from Cuatamundi, Yara Sanchez.
Wait, which side do you want?
No, you're okay.
I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
From the board, I guess we're gonna ask questions, but what I will just say is good job, very good job. Like Mr. Fanning said you are the utility players, aren't you? You do everything. You forgot about pinch hitting for nursing, pinch hitting for substitute teaching, or even anything else out, correct? Right? I mean, you are everyone. Really. You are everybody's role at times. So congratulations. And thank you very much. Thank you very much. For those of you that were former students of mine. Yes, I know.
And mine.
See, Mr. Ramirez, way back when? Oh, it wasn't. It was only 10 years ago. Probably. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies. And you don't have to stay, or you can stay. It's up to you. You want to stay and watch the board meeting? It's up to you. If not, you may.
You might gnaw your leg off out of board.
Transition that's coming up.
Run.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You gotta make an exit. Come on, let's go. Not you, sir. You sir.
All right.
Bye, Morris.
C, then. Where we at? C, superintendent's report, Mr. Verdugo.
Thank you. It's hard to follow up all of that with all the recognitions tonight, but again, congratulations to all those that were recognized tonight. Last night, we also had the top 5% banquet. So I want to congratulate those students that were part of that, as well as the teachers that were part of that, because it's a very special recognition, not only for the top 5%, but it also recognizes their most influential educator. So it was a very positive event, and I want to congratulate all of the teachers and students again, and thank the foundation for their continued partnership. Want to congratulate softball for making the playoffs. They have their play-in game tomorrow. So good luck to the softball team as they face Pueblo tomorrow. Tomorrow, we also have a couple of events, the FFA Banquet, as well as the Navigating the College Recruiting event. Unfortunately, they're at the same time. So I'll be popping in to say hello to FFA for 10 minutes and then heading over, since I am one of the presenters for the college recruiting navigation. Want to thank Dr. Lunderville for the last few weeks that we've been doing, or I should say we, I don't want to take any credit at all for all of the hard work, but her and her team. I know we have our auditors talking about our financial audit, but she's been going through an audit with OCR for our CTE program, as well as our attendance audit. So those two things simultaneously having to deal with that has been a very big challenge. So I want to thank her and her team for all of the hard work. And I know that the findings that they, because they always have to have findings, no offense to the auditors, I know they have to find something, and they were very minimal, and it was very positive. So congratulations to Dr. Lunderville team. Mr. Moreno was instrumental in that as well. So congratulations to them. And I think the attendance audit is almost done, or just almost done. So that is still going. So there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, but thank you again for all the hard work. Then just wanted to mention to the board, as we're heading into the hiring season, I know that we have, at this time, we always lose teachers, gain teachers. But one of the things that I'm very proud of at our district, and you can see by the students we have and the staff that are doing some great things. Occasionally we lose teachers. And I think that this district has done an outstanding job of financially supporting our teachers and staff. Our last board meeting, with our support staff, which is one of the largest endeavors we've ever done financially, by supporting our staff with new salary scale to address compression and those type of things. And when we talk about the culture and climate of our district, one of the things that I'm always proud of is that we are very supportive of our staff and teachers. But we also have very high expectations. And sometimes that is difficult to live up to. And so as we are hiring teachers, I want to say that's what we're looking for. And as some teachers are leaving, and this is, again, no offense to them, but I always want to let the board know and the community know that it's a very difficult district to work for. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean it in a way that we have very high expectations, and sometimes people don't like to achieve excellence. It's the simplest way I can put it, is that we have very high expectations, and sometimes people don't want to live up to that. So if, for those that are wanting to be part of a district that's like that, where we're still recruiting, so I wanted to share that as well. But those that are leaving, again, we know that sometimes this isn't the right place. And I just wanted to publicly state that because I think sometimes we don't get that opportunity. And I just wanted to say that, we want everybody here and we work with everybody, but again, also we have very high expectations and that's the way we do things in our district, and our team just has a lot of high expectations. So thank you.
Mr. Beach, governing board member report. So I'll start with Mr. Beach.
Let's see. Well, Shannon, I think I ran into you over the weekend and last night. Over the weekend, we're down in Nogales and they celebrated, I think his name Charles Mingus, a world-renowned jazz artist, and Rio Rico Jazz Band was down there representing. So it was a awesome afternoon down there, just watching some alumni from Nogales, old time jazz, I guess, jazz club. Rio Rico was repping. Nogales High School rep. Is just a great afternoon down there. So it's good to see Rio Rico out there representing. Last night, I did attend the Excellent in Education Awards Banquet. And I just want to say congratulations to Miss Lunderville. Yep. And also Miss Cabrera, whose both daughters were recognized, as well as all the students that were recognized last night. Their hard work definitely paid off and saved their parents a lot of money. Yep. And also Mr. Hicks and Mrs. Hicks was recognized as being two of our outstanding educators. So congrats. Mr. Brashaw was very happy of both of you. And other than that, I think I missed one. Iliani Slava also received an award from Cambridge, which is a very renowned program that Rio Rico High School has. So I just want to congratulate that individual also. That's it.
Ms. Fobian.
Thank you. Yeah, the top 5%, congratulations to those kids. That is really an achievement that they'll carry with them as they go on to be top 5% everywhere they go. And I really appreciated the principal's reports. I thought it gave a lot of information done in a creative way. So it's always nice to know what's going on in the sites and get a real feel for it. And I know now as the days are counting down for the end of the year that the next one will be even more exciting. Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, I want to thank everybody that was involved in putting all this new tech together for us. I think it's great. It's really nice to see the meetings run this way. It's so much nicer. No static. This is just awesome. I'm very impressed, and so far so good. And God, we waited a long time for it, and you guys delivered. So thank you, Mr. Verdugo, and the team, everybody who made that possible. Really appreciate it. I look forward to the middle school transitions and graduation and all the fun activities at the end, and including the parade that's come about. I reflect upon how hard COVID was from the beginning, and it's nice to see that something positive came out of it, like this school parade that it looks like it's just going to carry on from now on. And so that, thank God, something positive came out of that hard time when everybody, I reflect on, oh my gosh, everybody here, we all went through such a difficult time. So praise the Lord that something positive came out of that. And as we wrap things up, as we head toward the final stretch here, I want to thank all the leadership for everything that they've done. I know that you do a lot that we don't give you credit for, and many times you hear a lot of the negative things, and it's really hard on you guys. So thank you, including the district admin. And it's not easy to do. I know it's very difficult to find this balance between the board and the things that you have to do with all employees. So I'm very well aware of that. And I wanted to thank you for all you do, all the leadership. So I want to thank the bus drivers that we do thank them, but I mean, I just want to recognize them, thank them for all that they do to get the kids around all over the place, and for sports, activities, you name it, school. They deal with a lot. So I want to thank them and all the secretaries that make things possible, shuffling paperwork around and puttering all over the place to make sure that everything flows smoothly. and all the people in tech that put this stuff together, and all the people who are doing all the PR for us, like Shannon and Angie puttering around. So thank you for everything that you do. Many times we don't think about, where you're not recognized for all that you do. So I'm very grateful, very, very grateful. Spoil is rotten. And I'd like to especially thank the teachers for they're in the trenches. And we have a lot of them who many times are not recognized for their hard work. They go home, grade papers like crazy, and have to deal with a lot of discipline and all kinds of stuff with the kids. And yet they still forge ahead and make things happen for our kids. They try so hard. And we have a lot of them who are never recognized as teachers of the year or whatever you may have. But they work hard, and they're every day in it, and they're in and out every day, just getting up early and going to sleep late and just giving it all they got. So I want to recognize all those people that maybe don't come before the board and get, the glory that others do, or that don't have all the flashy stuff that others do. So thank you to all the teachers that work so hard to educate our kids in District 35. I really appreciate it. And that is it. Thank you.
We do have another board meeting before school.
Yes.
Mr. Hayes.
We know that.
I have nothing to add at this time. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. No, I'll concur. Yay. Electronics. Yay. Big screens. All right. But Mr. Hayes, we wanted to see your mug on there. We don't know how well this works. So if you could turn on your camera, it'd be great. Just asking. But it is nice to see this. It certainly is. And
Mr. President,
yes.
The host has that function disabled.
Oh, good. All right. Okay.
And there is no video from the host either.
All right. Well, that's good to know. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. But certainly, yes, it's nice that we have this technology in this room, because it's always good when people come in to see that we are actually in this century. Certainly, IT, great job. I was glad to see about the nice letter written about our students regarding prom. That was a great letter. It really was nice to see that our kids are young people that are going to be young adults, and they're behaving very well. And as the testament in that letter was stated. Principal reports, yes, thank you, all principals. Certainly it was great. I don't know if it was me, but at Calabasas, I just saw one page. Don't know what was going on with that, but hopefully that there was some others that I didn't get to see on that. Yes, Charles Mingus, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's a carryover into Tubac with Rio Rico as well this Saturday, correct?
I don't know if Rio Rico will be there, but there is a carryover. There will be.
And Tubac this Saturday. Well, I was hoping, because it was our district, that we would do things in our district. Mr. Estrada, I don't know what you can pull strings on that. But it is in our district. So yes, it was good for that, certainly. Principal report. I just want to say on as far as like other districts, we always see things about other districts. And if you read outside of this county and other areas across the state, you always see the concerns they have with what's going on, what's transpiring. And then you see one district where their superintendent was recognized not only just 3 years ago of being an outstanding superintendent of the year, and yet that person now is being scrutinized for whatever situations going on there. So I can say thankful that we have a good district where we don't have those concerns, because other districts seem to me there's always popping things up across the state. And the last one was that I see that we got a letter, and I thought it was really ironic, and I'm going to be a negative person on this one, I guess, because sometimes I can be, I guess. I am on the bully pulpit right now. But I think ASBA had some gall to send us a letter to our district. And I know it was a catch letter, send it to everybody, but to send it to our district regarding having recommendations for the executive director to put on the board, I thought that was really, really in poor taste, my opinion. And that's just, again, that's my opinion. But I think that I know they're not ever going to hear that, but I think that there's things that ASBA needs to, and we as a board, hopefully we can look at some of these things coming up this summer too with ASBA. Is there something else that transpired, but I can't get into that right now. but certainly we certainly want to revisit our love for them. So that was there. I'm off that. All right, thank
I
you.
thought I was long-winded.
No, but I was right, quick. All right, information discussion action. Item A, audit reports, Mr. Verdugo and Ms. Brown.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to invite Ms. Brown up. There is a new statutory requirement that we have a presentation and approval of our audit. So I know Ms. Brown will be able to explain that, and we do have a brief presentation. And we have Ms. Kara Curtis, who will be here presenting. So Ms. Brown.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. Every year we have our annual financial audit. And this year we have with us our lead auditor, Kara Curtis, and to present the audit, and because we are under a new requirement, starting with this fiscal year, that the audit reports must be approved by the governing board by roll call. So I am going to allow Kara to present the information for you. Thank you.
So I'm going to go over the audit that we performed over fiscal year 2021. I know you guys are just the microphone. Sorry. I know you guys are kind of finishing up fiscal year 2022, but we're always 1 year back. My name is Kara Curtis. I have been with Heinkel Meach for over 10 years now, and I'm an audit manager in our Tucson office. I've been involved with the Santa Cruz audit for several years, probably most of those 10 years as well. So it's a little bit slow. So just
We spoke too soon.
I know.
Just ask John to fix it. He's the deer. There he is. There's John.
Got John on.
Can I share to see if it seemed to freeze?
Well, he just came through because of his godly power. So.
Okay.
John again.
Gary, I know you have all this memorized, so if that doesn't work.
Yeah, why don't you just tell us?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can just tell us.
Sure.
While they're working on it.
Yeah, so just to kind of give you a little background of how the audit process works. So typically we begin the process in August of last year, and that's when we send out the engagement letter that just kind of goes through all of our responsibilities as auditors and what management responsibilities are, and kind of establishes that contract. Between August and October, we send out some audit requests. They're very lengthy. Isela and her team do an awesome job at pulling all the items that we need for our audit. We are out here for about a week at the end of October, and we're kind of looking all the different files for the fieldwork portion of the audit, a little bit wrapped up into November as well. By December 2021, we send over the draft of the audit report, which gets approved and reviewed by management. And then we do issue that report and 2 other supplementary reports, which we'll go over in a second, between December and February of this year. Oh, cool. So to give you a little bit of background on what we do as auditors. So we do complete our audits in accordance with US GAAP, also governmental auditing standards, and the uniform guidance. Uniform guidance relates back to any entities that receive federal monies. In addition, all Arizona school districts are required to get a uniform system of financial records audit compliance questionnaire, which we'll go over as well. Just kind of outlining the responsibilities of our auditors and management. So we do conduct various fraud interviews with management, with some members of the board as well. Our responsibility is not to find fraud as the audit. However, if we are uncover fraud through our audit, it is our responsibility to let you know no instances of fraud were disclosed in our audit. Obviously, the responsibility for finding fraud and looking for fraud does lie with the board and management, and it's not part of our audit responsibilities. Our audit also is designed to give you reasonable assurance, not absolute. We do not test every single transaction. We test a sample of transactions and are able to provide that opinion. Ultimately, management is responsible for everything in the financial statements. They approve those at the end of our audit. In 2021, there were no new fiscal accounting policies or standards that needed to be implemented. In the prior year, there was the new moving student activities into the financials. Next year, there'll be a new lease standard, but for 2021, there was nothing implemented. Most everything in the financial statements can be agreed to. A supporting documentation, cash can be supported by bank statements. There's just a couple areas where estimates are used, and these two are identified here and then disclosed to you guys. The first one is useful lives of depreciable assets. So management determines how long buildings last and how long vehicles last, and make an estimate to depreciate those over its useful life. And then the assumptions that are used in your ASRS retirement plan, so actuarial valuations, mortality rates, discount rates, things like that. We're pleased to report that we did not make any audit adjustments. Typically when schools are having material misstatements in there, we need to go in and make adjustments. The general ledger did look materially correct, and we did not have to make any audit adjustments. So this is really great to hear. H&M does provide some non-auditing services. So we do put together the reports. So we take the general ledger from the district and kind of put it into our software, and we make some adjustments for cash basis as required by GAAP. We are not, preparing the financial statements in any way, and management is, the one that does that ultimate review. We also do provide some assistance with the CFA and the data collection form. So those federal requirements reporting to the federal clearinghouse. Some other communications that we are required to disclose to you: there were no disagreements over any of the financial accounting reporting audit manners, no disagreements with management. At the end of the audit, we do provide a letter to management. It's called a management representation letter that basically says, we told you everything, we didn't withhold any information. Everything in the report is accurate, and from what we can tell. So also, as part of our auditing procedures and our quality control procedures, we're continuing to assess whether our ethical standards are correct and whether we're independent. So that's something that we continually do. So the 3 reports that were issued were going to be the annual comprehensive financial report. So that's going to be the actual financial statements of the school district. A single audit report, which is required based on the amount of money that you guys receive and spend from federal entities, and the Uniform System of Financial Records questionnaire, which is required by state compliance from Arizona for all school districts. So just some pages to highlight from the annual comprehensive financial report. Page 13 of that report is going to be our audit opinion. So that audit opinion this year was on unmodified, which is really great. And yeah, all that information just discloses what our responsibilities are and things like that. Page 19 of the report has the management discussion and analysis. So that section will describe fluctuations year to year, what things went up, what things went down, why they went up, why they went down. So it's a good look to do some comparison. Page 32 has the actual financial statements. You'll see government-wide financial statements, fund financial statements, all the combining statements as well. Page 43 has the notes to the financial statement. So any descriptions on debt schedules, cash, fair value, things like that. And then on page 139, that's where you're going to see the statistical section, which is unique to the annual comprehensive financial report. And that's going to show 10 years of data for the district and kind of comparison in lots of different ratios and things like that. For the single audit report, that is the report that is submitted to the federal clearinghouse. So on page 9 of that report, something just to highlight is there's that schedule of findings and question costs, and there were no significant deficiencies. There was no material weaknesses, no instances of non-compliance. So it was a very clean report. And it looked really good. So each year we rotate major federal programs based on risk and dollar amount. This year it was the 2 COVID related grants that we looked at. So the Coronavirus Relief Fund and the Education Stabilization Fund. And so no errors noted in those programs. Santa Cruz is considered a low-risk auditee, which means that you guys have submitted your reports timely in the past, and there's been no deficiencies in the past 2 years as well. So that's really great to be proud. For the Uniform System of Financial Records, so that compliance questionnaire is a form that's developed by the Auditor General. It's 175 yes or no type questions. So there's no assessment there. If you find one issue, it's a no. That's just how the questionnaire works. It doesn't matter if it was $1 or $10 million. It's a yes or no type question. So based on our experience with school districts around Arizona, school districts typically have an average of 16 no's. This year for the 2021 audit, Santa Cruz had 9 no's, which is really amazing. Honestly, like you mentioned before, auditors have to find something, and so, unfortunately, some of these questions are very detailed, and we do look at a lot of transactions. So having 9 is very impressive. So just kind of some final comments. We just want to say thank you. Isela and her team have been so cooperative and helpful, and they're just very good to work with. And so thank you for all your hard work and putting this together. It's not an easy task. So that's all. Thank you.
All right, questions, Mr. Hayes?
No questions. I thank everyone for the report and the team for working on it. I just wish that more people would actually believe when they've asked me if we get audited and how we get audited. When I share the links to these reports, that they'd actually believe that they were real.
All right. Ms. Fobian.
Thank you, Mrs. Brown and your staff. And thank you for a thorough audit.
Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, I found it interesting how you said you take these samples, you can't do everything. So
Right.
Sounds like a financial biopsy, But that's pretty cool. I mean, it's probably inconceivable that you could go through the whole document like that, but bless your heart for being a CPA, because that's a lot of monotonous work. But I wanted to thank Isela, because she's been quite the guardian since I arrived here, the governing board, and I've learned how she's such a good guardian of all the funds. And I always think about how Mr. Verdugo says, I can't make a move unless he gives me the approval, And I also flash back to the time I asked you about whether we keep 4%, whether that's state law. And you said, no, Mr. Ramirez, but we always have our rainy day fund to make sure that we don't have to say goodbye to anybody. So good job. He said, you always do such a great job for our district. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great job, Isela, to you and your team. I know it's an enormous task, to get set up for an audit. So congrats to you. A lot of hard work, and if you can convey that to your team. And Kara, thank you for presenting. And I'm glad we got good marks. Yep.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Brown. And again, what is this now? How many years we're gonna have awards on this? 15, 16, 21?
Year 21.
Long before you even started, huh?
That was before me.
Yes. Well, you inherited a good district, right?
Okay.
Yes. Well, thank you, Ms. Curtis, for presenting. Yeah, I mean, granted, this is last year's what transpired. And I thank you. I've been sleeping very well, so I certainly now will be able to sleep at night reading through this, certainly. But yes, it'll be interesting to see what, and just not just ours, but everybody's this next year, just for what's been transpired, certainly. I mean, it's no reflection upon us, but certainly it'll be interesting. So thank you again. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
We need to do anything with this? It's an action item.
It is an action item. So yes, it does need to be approved.
You want to, and you stated, Ms. Brown, you wanted a roll call?
Roll call vote.
Yes, please. So this is an action item, and the board needs to take action by roll call.
Okay. With that said, do I hear a motion to accept the FY 2020-2021 audit report as presented?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then we'll take a roll call starting with Mr. Hayes.
Aye.
Mr. Beach.
Aye.
Mr. Ramirez.
Aye.
Ms. Fobian.
Aye.
Myself, aye, 5-0. All right. Section, or excuse me, subject B is discipline update. And there's a lot of names on here, Mr.
Yeah, and so we were hoping that many of the principals would be able to participate virtually, but they were traveling to San Antonio and their flight got changed. So they are actually flying currently. So it's Mr. Shriley and his team, and I think we have Calabasas represented as well. So she's like, no, not really.
I was not told, but.
Yeah, no, you're fine. It's just to answer any questions about discipline. And so this has been something that, you know, as we come back from COVID, that this year was a challenge. And so I mentioned to Mr. Kramer that when I talk to other superintendents, one of the things that we talk about is how are you dealing with the large amount of suspensions and discipline that we are having across the state, because it has just been an issue with returning to school. And then we have on the younger level, students that are now in first grade or even second grade and didn't really have an elementary experience to start out. So they're learning how to be students for the first time. Instead of being in preschool or kinder, they're now first or second grade and having to learn how to actually be a student. So one of the things I know that Mr. Ramirez has been asking about, having a presentation to discuss discipline, because it is such a prevalent issue, and not only with our district, but just across the state. And the more research I did, it's across the nation, that there are just a lot of issues that students are having with coming back to school from being home for those periods of time, and again, learning how to be a student and acclimate themselves back to it again. And so I know Mr. Ramirez asked that question at one of our previous board meetings to have the presentation. So Mr. Strada, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you and then we'll just have some discussion about discipline in general. Thank you.
Mr. President, members of the board, good evening. Thank you for having us this evening. With me, I have Mr. Hicks, assistant to the principal, as we go through our presentation, and then Dr. Lunderville, she's assistant superintendent over student services, who we report all of our discipline to. As you saw in the first slide, is a student-centered approach to school discipline. It's more important now than ever, as Mr. Verdugo alluded to, with the transition back to school and the various challenges that we're seeing or experiencing, just that are different than before. So we're going to highlight three approaches to student discipline. We're going to talk about the first approach is the tier 1 approach in the classroom. That's the teacher role, and what we do and how we conduct that process here at Rio Rico High School and SCB 35. And the second part we'll talk about is then when it gets to the administrative role and what our processes are. And then the third part, we'll talk about just the whole student and how we're all in it to help the entire student. So to begin with, and I know there's a little bit of delay, so our first part we want to talk about, and I'll let Mr. Hicks come and speak on this section, but our first section is the teacher role, right? And how the teachers provide those tier 1 level of interventions for student discipline in the classroom. And one thing that's really, really important is you saw a previous slide was our core values poster. That poster's everywhere. It's very much alive in our community. People know what it means to rep. And so our first one is building relationships. And so our teacher approach is to do just that. It's to build relationships with the students, to get to know those students that may be a little more difficult, as opposed to being punitive right out the gate. And what we have is we follow a 4-step discipline process, and we have a behavior management process. And so I'm going to let Mr. Hicks take you through the 4-step discipline process and what that looks like as he works alongside with the teachers. Mr. Hicks oversees the discipline at our school for the most part. And so when teachers do utilize this process, it goes directly to his office. So I'll let him speak on that.
I'll open the floor for you. Okay. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. Thanks for having us. Yeah, so our obviously behavior management process is what was generated from PBIS. If you're familiar with this kind of behavioral management system that teachers work with and to kind of establish the processes and systems that we use for discipline. So teachers had a lot to do with this process and how this was developed.
I'm trying to get you the link so you can see.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about that. Okay, so the behavioral management process essentially, as the document would show you, is there's some minor issues, minor classroom disruptions, minor classroom situations that we ask teachers to work through in that 4-step process. And so through that 4-step process, obviously the first step is, thank you. Obviously the first step is addressing the situation with the student. We ask teachers to talk to students and have that relationship building opportunity, I think, to match what we do in the school and as kind of our over encompassing themes in our school is student-based and giving those students that personal agency. That's what we want the teachers to develop too. We talk about rep. We expect our teachers to develop those relationships with the students in those classrooms so that they have those conversations and the ability to address more difficult issues as they come about throughout the semester. Then the next step obviously is an after school meeting with teacher and student. If that behavior continue, obviously these minor behaviors I'm talking about, those classroom disruptions, those kind of things, that we ask the teacher to sit down in a more formal environment and have more of a structured meeting with a student that says, these are the issues, this is the plan, we need to put this in place. And so that again goes with the classroom and the teacher, again, minor offenses we're discussing here. The next obviously step would be that student and parent meeting, the student and parent meeting. So we do bring the parent in at that time, continued behavior. We definitely feel like at that point, we need to inform parents, guardians, whoever that person is. A lot of times you find a lot out in this phase of the process because you get feedback from a parent or a guardian. You find out what is that relationship like in the home with parent or guardian. Is there support for the school in that environment? Or are we looking at a situation where we kind of need to take more of a role in educating that student and their behavior holistically? And then obviously the 4th step would be that referral to the office. So this document is filled out by teachers. Step 1, filled out. That meeting is had with that student signs off that we've gone through step 1. Step 2, we'll sit down with that formal meeting, again, signed off by that teacher and that student to recognize that we've had that process in place. Step 3, obviously confirmed by teacher that contact was made with parent, guardian, or whoever that was with the student so that we know there's an awareness of the behavior. We know that that's been addressed to that level where parent and guardian needed to be informed. So then that next step, that 4th step, if it gets to that point, then that does come to the office. And then that's where we start talking about referrals, discipline, punitive type discipline at that point. So we do ask that teachers really work to develop those relationships. I mean, that is, it's number 1 in what we say when we rep, and we really expect that, out of the room there because that is where we build those bonds with students and we can have that reach. So that's getting us through the 4-step process and then that behavior management process. Obviously, major infractions, anything more serious, fighting, any type of excessive behavior in the classroom comes directly to the office, and we start directly with the referral process or the conversation from the administrative direction at that point.
Sorry, the links aren't. No, but it's just like it's a copy of our documentation so you can view it. But I believe if you have your copy, you can click on the link and view that. As Mr. Hicks mentioned, the behavior management process is it's posted in all of our classrooms. So the teachers and students are also aware of what will constitute the 4-step process and what will constitute immediately coming into the administrative process. The next aspect that we'll talk about. So that's the teacher role, right? That tier 1 intervention communicating the same expectations school-wide, communicating what we want to see in the classroom, supporting their classroom management and school-wide expectations. And then just to kind of touch on some things, we give our teachers a lot of autonomy. And so school-wide policies, for example, eating and drinking, it's at classroom discretion. So if the teacher's decision is to allow students to have food while they're in the classroom, right? Obviously not a lab, right? A little different for those, but teacher discretion, right? So if a student is eating in a classroom where a teacher says no eating, then that'll be a 4-step process, right? Same with cell phones. Our cell phone policy is teacher discretion. Some teachers enjoy using them with their instruction. Some teachers don't want anything to do with them for the instruction. So if the student violates the teacher discretion, then it'll go through the 4-step process, right? So that's another example of what we'll see. The second piece here is the administrative process. And so what does it look like when it comes to us, or when we deal with larger issues on campus? And so our job is to do the same thing, right? So I always tell the admin team, we need to be visible, we need to be seen, we need to be around, and just our proximity, as you know, as current and former educators, your proximity deters a lot of student behavior, right? So that's what we do. You can see us constantly working on that throughout the day, passing periods, lunch, before and after school. And that's our time to build relationships with students. So we get to know them and we get to see who they are, right? So when we meet them in our office, it's not the first time we see them. That's our first step. Big part of that is going to events. As you go to different events, you're going to see us at events. And so that way we get to know the kid outside of the classroom, outside of the school day. That's where we meet their parents when they get picked up in the parking lot, or the last ones there, right? Alongside with the coaches. So it just really helps us get to know the whole kid. But when the student comes to us for discipline, our job is now to find out why are we making these decisions? What's the root cause? And then teach them, right? Find out why and then teach them. And what we constantly enforce is what's become known now in our district is the portrait of the graduate. We enforce the soft skills. Why are you acting like this? What skills do you need to change your behavior? What's prompting you to have this outburst, or what's prompting you to be aggressive, or what's prompting you to smoke, right? What are the whys behind it? So then we can target each individual student. We do have a discipline matrix that we have for us to use when we're providing those interventions after we get the students who have made an infraction, right? So what happens if you're caught with a vape as opposed to smoking the vape? What happens if you're selling the vape as opposed to smoking the vape? So we have our discipline matrix that takes us through a shoving fight versus an all-out altercation, to cussing a teacher out, to being disobedient, whatever it may be. We have our discipline matrix that we follow. But then we also take everything situational, take it case by case. The more we know, and I ask this in every interview that when we hire teachers and staff at our school, can you know too much about your students? And the answer is no. The more we know about our students, the better judgments we can make to help them. And that's what we believe in. So we take each situation case by case. And we also collaborate with our school resource officer. So anytime we do have any of those legal infractions, Pete Felix is our current school resource officer, he's involved. And his role is also to be visible on campus. So he's not just the police officer or the sheriff deputy, when there's a discipline problem. He's out during passage period, he's out during lunch, he's out in the mornings. So the kids see him in different realms as well. But we do utilize that resource when we need to and when we have to. Everything gets reported to our school resource officer. The third step is something we've put focus on more so within the last year and a half, I would say. Dr. Lunderville was instrumental in writing the school safety grant, which affords us another school counselor. So part of the school safety grant process, oh, sorry, I got ahead of myself. I was trying to memorize my presentation. Just talk about what I do every day. So second part of the admin part is to be proactive. So I really wanted to share this piece with you. You got to meet some of our student leaders, and I mentioned one of our students in particular who holds me accountable, right? And that student's not afraid to come tell me, Mr. Shada, you need to work on this. Mr. Shada, this is going really well. We listen to their feedback and we take it. So some of our students came up to us and said, we need to work on some positive relationships with our freshman class. We have a link crew and Mr. Hicks oversees the link crew. So I'll let him talk about how we did some proactive measures in the classrooms, specifically with link crew in our freshman class.
Yeah, so link crew obviously is a student group. So it's our upperclassmen group, our juniors and seniors. So it's a great opportunity to really teach our younger students with the examples that our older students set, which you guys saw up here today, and how great those kids are. Link works hard on putting activities together. You know, they break themselves up into groups of 3, 4, 5, and went into every single freshman classroom to be able to work with them on a specific theme. So whatever that theme is inclusion, right? If that's what the theme is that they want to talk about for the day, or how it feels to have somebody say something to you that maybe you don't want somebody to say to you, and then talk about that. So, and not from an admin or a teacher, but peer to peer. So they speak the same language. They're using the same verbiage. They're speaking in a way that relates to each other. And I think that's where Link really gets their legs, because the freshman, sophomore groups can look at them and say, oh, that's going to be me in a couple of years. And I want to be somebody like that, or I don't want to be looked at in the way that we're discussing today. So putting those kind of things together, they work really hard on that, getting in there with those classrooms and really digging in with the freshman and sophomore underclassmen groups. But then also, we do have a part of that. So when we got in there in those proactive conversations, those proactive presentations, just for example, the situation Mr. Estrada is referring to with that student, we addressed that situation that she brought to the table, and we spoke to it directly with the freshman students. And so it wasn't that kind of, you know, rainbows and butterflies approach that Link can kind of bring to a difficult situation. It was very direct, but we took advantage of Link being in that room and having that kind of vibe to be able to deliver that kind of message. So again, a proactive conversation that was spurred by another student saying, this is an issue, let's address this. And so we did. And so those are the kind of things that Link can provide a window into that group, and obviously give guidance and really kind of ease the message into that younger group. And so that's one of the things I think Link really does. And then obviously their big role is to kind of create that environment on our campus. So when we do our Take Flight freshman orientation in the summer, Link is there. Link is the group that runs all of our events. They run the organization. They put the whole 3 days together and are in groups, stations, everything with those freshmen. So when they get to school in August, they can relate to that student, right? I know that person. I already have a connection. I know the expectation that these students have for us. So that's where I think our student groups really play a big role in developing that kind of behavior on our campus.
A few other proactive measures we've taken just to address student behavior wholeheartedly, right? I'm going to call it right out when there's an issue. You remember the beginning of the year when we had the videos about the fights, the first thing I did was made a video and talk to the whole school, right? Well, I didn't make the video. I was talking to them all live. I recorded the video to then share out. The video is titled, Who Are We? And now some of the students in this room that you met today, they use it when holding students accountable. It's kind of their meme / funny way of being, who are we? Like, why are you guys doing that? They'll pass by me outside, like, who are we, Mr. Shada, right? It's become a thing, and it reminds everyone of what we didn't accept and called it head on. So we've done videos addressing the entire school. Student Senate meetings, and I didn't have a lot of them here this evening, so as you can see, but the 46 kids are instrumental in providing me feedback on where the issues are, what do we need to address, how do we address them. what they're tired of. At the end of the TikTok challenges, the students said I think was the most frustrated group because they were the ones saying different things to help me divert those individuals from continuing to act in that way with those TikTok challenges. Teachable moments. Several of you in this room were at the assembly, and it was our first assembly back from school year from COVID, and kids had just never been in assembly for a year and a half, and they needed to be redirected on what's appropriate and what wasn't appropriate. And it was important for me to redirect the whole school in front of everybody, all 1,300 students and however 80 staff faculty members, so that they can see that if we let it happen, it's going to happen. But if we address it when it happens, our students will respond. So that was one main reason why I addressed it that way. And then just routine follow-ups, right? Like if we understand the why behind the students are making those decisions, it's easier for us on the administrative side to support our teachers in following up with those kids during passing period, during lunch, at events. And so all those proactive measures just kind of culminate into what our school culture is and what it means. I wanted to share that with you as we do that as well, aside from the referrals and the suspensions and the discipline conversations and the parent meetings. Those are just other things that we do to address that. And the student voices, you've heard me say it here a couple of times, students are not afraid to come up to any of us, Mr. Hicks and I, or any member of the admin team, to let us know what's going on and to let us know what we need to address, or when things are getting better. And so I was so happy to share our student leaders with you. I was so proud that we were able to share them and you were able to meet them. But they're a big reason of why our school culture continues to be successful, is because they're the ones helping with it. And so I wanted to include them in this presentation. I know I got ahead of myself here, but the third part is the part that Dr. Lunderville has been instrumental in helping write the school safety grant. So we were afforded a third counselor, or you saw the counseling presentation. One of those counselors comes from the school safety grant funding. And what that does is it puts us in a whole school consortium of run by the state, by ADE, and how to address the whole student. And so we are in there with other schools that were allocated a school resource officer or allocated a school counselor to help with this particular stuff, student discipline, school discipline, but addressing the whole student. And so we're fortunate to have that grant and then to be part of that consortium, so where we get extra training and information on how to address the entire student. One thing that they're really, really keen on teaching us is trauma-informed care, that those individuals that have had trauma to them, their brain develops differently, the psychological aspect is different. So if we know something unique about our students that we can't share with everyone, right? We know why this student may be acting the way they are. And some of that unfortunately comes from the trauma they endured as individuals growing up. So it's been great with that school safety grant to have those extra trainings and support, so that way when we address school discipline. But it's also been good to have the partnership with high schools throughout the state to hear that our number one issue is also their number one issue, to steal things off of what they're doing to address it versus what we're doing to address it. And we started the Thrive content in our 21st Century program. So students that are caught vaping, right, we can lower their suspension days if they attend the Thrive content, which is just information and instruction after school about what vaping does to your body, the impacts, the effects of vaping, why are you choosing the vape, helping you with your friends, your choices, your decisions. And so we started that through our 21st Century program, just to assist our students with, okay, so we have an incident of vaping, we want to find why, but we want to provide some restorative practices so that doesn't continue. So what interventions do the kids need so that they can stop doing it, right? So that's one of the things that we implemented this year. So I just put their proactive measures versus punitive consequences. Yeah, our students still get suspended if they do it, but we work with them and their parents to offer this other way of just being informed with what it means to do that. And Dr. Liver, I don't know if you need to cover anything.
No,
else.
I think that's sufficient. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. One of the data points in the presentation, and hopefully you can maybe click on it on your part. It takes us through our discipline data. So that's a link if you're able to follow along. But some things to highlight is our number one infraction is vaping. Vaping or using a vape, whether that's tobacco or drug related. That's our number one infraction, I believe. Mr. Carey, if you're looking at that, I believe it's 81 total infractions, if I remember the number correctly. 80 this year. Our second highest infraction is attendance policy. You're going to see that. So what we did when I started 3 years ago is tardy policy was done by the teachers. And so I removed that responsibility from the teachers. All the teachers have to do is mark the kid tardy if they show up tardy. We take care of, and Mr. Hicks oversees the attendance. We take care of those kids that are accumulating X number of tardies, and then we take care of that discipline for that. If we do tardy sweeps, we pick a random period. We don't even tell anyone. We have everyone out in the hall, so we don't corral them or we don't lose any more instructional time. As soon as that late bell hits, our tardy sweep is, okay, you're late. We take their name and go to class. It's literally a minute, maybe 30 seconds, because they're already late. So we don't keep them out of instruction any more than we need to. Mr. Hicks then follows up. First tardy sweep is a warning. Second tardy sweep becomes after school detention or lunch duty. So we then impose the discipline on their own time, not instructional time. So that's our second highest violation at 61 total infractions. Those are 61 individuals that have hit 3 or more tardies this school year. With the high school, you could have 3 tardies the first period, right? A good record, and then 3 tardies the sixth period. So that we target, okay, why are you late after lunch, right? What's going on that you're not making it to class after lunch? And then our third largest infraction is aggression. That's different than harassment and threats, intimidation. Harassment, threats, intimidation is our fighting stuff. The aggression, our students had conflict with one another. If mediating that didn't work, if students are talking trash to one another on Snapchat, on social media, all those would fall along the lines of aggression. So you can see our top 3 infractions. And then if you scroll down, if you're able to see it on your data, you'll see the number of referrals by month through April 19th is when I ran the data for this presentation. And you can see that as the school year started, kids got used to being with each other. October was our prime time. And then right after that first quarter, everything started to go back to how it was. This year, it was that first quarter was tough getting everyone acclimated to being back to school. And there are still things that we're working on to improve as we get everyone acclimated to be back to school all year long. But that shows our discipline data for you by month. Tuesday is a fun day where most of our infractions take place on a Tuesday. We think it's because Monday they all come back and then Tuesday they're ready. So whatever ready means, Tuesdays are our high infraction day. You can see 63 total infractions on Tuesday for the school year. And then the reason why link is so important is you see there our grade with the highest level of infractions are freshman class with 53. And as you all know, as educators, that transitional years is tough. Transition from 8th to 9th grade is a tough year. So part of that's the maturity. Part of that for this group is they haven't been in school for a while. And so they didn't get those norms that some people get in middle school. I also broke down the data for you to review by gender, so you can see, and by ethnicity. That for the most part wraps up the kind of threefold of how we approach discipline at Rio Rico High School, how our teachers help us with those tier 1 interventions in the classroom, what we do as administrators when it gets to us, and then just that whole student that we're all working on with our counseling team, us teachers, and and really learning what the whole student needs. Mr. President, I'll open it up for questions or
Yeah,
comments.
and before we get there, just a quick, also, one of the things that we are implementing is cameras and vaping sensors that will be in all of our bathrooms at the high school. And so that's going to possibly increase the number of incidents in the short term until we somewhat eradicate that issue. But the cameras, it's close to $1 million project district wide. So that's something that we are very excited about, because it'll be cameras all over the entire district and all of the school sites. And so it's something that will assist with discipline, but it's not going to stop discipline unless teachers are out visible, administrators are out visible. And that's what Mr. Shaw is talking about, that relationship piece is essential. So no matter how many cameras and things if the teachers aren't out being visible and assisting with that, then it's not going to solve that problem. And so relationships, and again, that's one of the things that I've talked to other superintendents around the state about, that it's just getting teachers out of the classroom again, because I think COVID had a part of that as well, where teachers wanted to stay in their classrooms with their mask or away from large groups and getting out with the students. And so now we're back to where we need to be out and be visible and be doing all of those things that we were doing prior, to be a teacher again, not only just be a student again, but also be a teacher again and getting out and doing those things. So with that, again, any questions at the board?
Thank you, Mr. Perdue.
All right, Mr. Hayes.
It's a good thing that you're working on the system is not as a one size fits all, because that rarely ever works for every student. I do have a question for you, Mr. Estrada. Do you ever find that you get a rash of incidents you just can't explain? Because if you do, I can do that for you. It might be a student you'll never expect because they got the straight A's. They're just bored and want to see what they can get away with.
Yeah, Mr. Hayes speaking from
Oh,
experience.
he's giving input.
And there is experience here, yes.
Question. It's just an observer. Oh, okay. Yes, all right.
Thank you. I was just gonna say the one thing I experienced this year that I've never experienced as an administrator or teacher was the TikTok challenge. And that was every kid, not just your typical kid, I guess.
All right. Thank you for your observation, Mr. Hayes. Ms. Williams.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I mean, COVID changed so much, and yeah, the kids were anxious to get back, but some of it getting back was the opportunity to kind of engage and see how far they can go. I don't have a problem with the discipline at Rio Rico High School. I don't. Look at the weekly or submissions on that. It just all seems pretty normal for the state of affairs going on now. And you have a very good intact program that you're working on. And I truly believe that knowing the students well is huge, because they will share with you what's going on. So yeah, you can't know a student too well.
No, I agree.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Beach.
Looks like you're doing a lot of good things on discipline. My only recommendation would maybe get together with your staff prior to the school ending and maybe create a protocol. What went right with discipline, what needs to change. Always improving, always looking to improve on changes, on positive changes on discipline. It could be give us 3 positive things that work well, discipline, and 2 or 3 things that we can improve on. You see a trend, make some changes. Other than that, the one thing as a teacher I can say is tardies drove me crazy, and I know when you say, we want the kid to be in the class so he doesn't lose that learning, but you also got to think of the other 30 kids in there that when they do walk in, tardy, that disrupts the learning process for those other 30s. Right. So I'm just, as a teacher, maybe look at that, because that does drive me crazy when students habitually come and target my class. Yeah. But that's about it. Yep, good job.
Thank you, Mr. Beach.
Since this was Mr. Ramirez's, I'll hold him for last, so then I'll go break this out. No, it's a good job. I mean, you guys are doing what you're doing, and you know, you're helping out 93% of the kids on this campus that are embracing it, that they're 95% even. It's what brings attention is that other 5%. And that's kind of where I'm kind of focusing on, because I know you're helping all the other students there with the programs. You're keeping them out of trouble and everything else. I would probably disagree with Mr. Verdugo in a sense, and maybe even Ms. Fobian. I think, yes, COVID brought things out, but if you look back when you were in high school or even 20 years ago, we were suspending 50 kids a year, long-term out expulsion. So there were troubles and there were problems, but there wasn't anything going on other than life's problems being handed. Right. And that's not just down there, it was over here too. So I'm not disagreeing with what's going on in the country, but I think the problems of life are certainly still there. And when I'm bringing that up is because the 5% is what brings up the attention to Rio Rico High School. Right. It's those kids that were fighting that got filmed. Right. It's those kids that are smoking or doing things in class that the teachers don't see, but the students see, and then they go tell their parents and the parents start yapping, which is all good. I mean, we want parents to be involved in all that. And that's Mike, I guess that's what I'm going to just focus on that 5%, because that's unfortunately brings the attention of, oh, look at Rio Rico High School. Oh, look at that. Oh, that. But really 95% of our kids are these kids here, right?
Exactly.
It's that 5% of what are we doing? And I guess that will be my question. And it's just some questions, not just for you. And this is for the middle schools. This is for the district and everything. When you said the matrix, I mean, I was the one that said, hey, why don't we put on the reports who's being referred to the law enforcement? Because where's the sheriff's office in a lot of these incidents? Because in back in the day when I was told, and this is 40 years ago when we were doing this, if there was a fight and there was blood, automatically it was an assault, law enforcement is involved, 9-day suspension. I see fights where aggression and stuff like that, but I just see 3 days, 5 days. Automatically, it was a fight, it was automatic 9 days. And I'm just saying this because it sends a clear message to that 5%. Right. And I'm not holding you again, Hector, you're just here because your other peers aren't here. And I'm just saying that because this is what we hear as board members. Oh, well, they're not doing anything. Or that kid was only suspended 3 as that kid was 5. Well, maybe because that kid that got 5 days has done this before. You know, I try to explain.
Right.
But it's something I would like to know where the SO stands on that. Are they intervening of you guys do your days and the sheriff is intervening right away? Not only just with that, but with the alcohol, tobacco and other drugs. Are they intervening? Are they citing everybody? I don't know, because I know you can't share that with us too much.
Right.
And I'm just wanting to see, because I kind of hear it. I mean, you don't have to give names, but you can certainly say the incident, and not just you, because there's the middle school that aren't here. Yes, Vanessa, you're here, but again, and I'm not answering, you don't have to answer that. I'm not trying to put you on the spot either. I'm just trying to say this is what we see, and I'm hoping as a board, we can actually look to see how can we support that even more, to say it's not happening, but it does happen. It's an automatic, tough love.
So are you saying you want, I'm sorry, can I ask a question? So you're saying you want a one-size-fits-all approach for certain infractions?
Well, I think that the one-size-fits-all cannot always work either, because you need to, okay, I'm going to give you an example on that. You have a young lady that's a freshman dealing drugs for a cousin that's a junior. Well, the cousin is the bigger dealer, but he's getting his freshman cousin, I was gonna say prima, cousin involved in this, right? Now, do we want to suspend that girl for 9 days? Or if she starts telling us more, do you hold back on that because you guys are doing your interventions, right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say one size fits all. I'm just trying to throw out there what those 5% create. Again, the situations that are we as a board supporting that? Are we saying this is what should be and not a one size fit all? Maybe, I don't know. The fight certainly, maybe. I don't know. Again, I'm just bringing it out there because obviously I dealt with this, like I said, 20 years ago, 45 kids being suspended for school long-term out.
Right.
And I was averaging 3, 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
I know Rio Rico at that time was dealing with the same thing. And the fights and the assaults and everything to that effect. I mean, the cameras and all that, there's gonna be great. Hopefully you have somebody monitoring constantly. Like somebody that's sitting in their offices. I'm not trying to say they do, but nurses are good because they're in there all the time, right? Just somebody that's monitoring that.
Right.
Because cameras will play an important role in that. And how far back will the recordings go too? You know, and I hope at
Mr.
least.
Kramer? Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
just to follow up on what you were saying about the sheriff, I think you might want to take that one level further. What about the county attorney's office also? Are they even willing to prosecute? Because the sheriff's office won't cite if the message they get from the attorney's office is they're not going to prosecute.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's a good point, John. And I think maybe that's something that and what we used to deal with the county attorney's office back, and even when I was in, that was only 6 years ago, at times say, yes, hopefully they're doing something.
And Mr. Kramer, the district has and continues to prosecute students on our own behalf. So we have filed charges on our own behalf.
And one of the things I just want to
We
also.
become the victim too. I understand all that,
Yeah.
true. Again, I'm just trying to not convey other than this is what we hear things. When I try to tell people it's only that minor percentage, because really that's the way it was in the days of before. I say 5, maybe 7 then, but there were at least 100 kids that you would go, I know they're here to disrupt. I know they're here to do things that are not good for the camp. Back then, maybe it's 50 now.
And I think that one of the things I want to clarify is that why it's become an issue right now, I think more so across the state, but even more so for us, because if you remember our discipline reports for about 5 years, it was nothing to report, nothing to report, nothing to report. So we were spoiled for about a 5-year period of time, including Mr. Shaw's first year. There was really, when he first came in, that first entire semester up until we hit COVID, there was probably very, very minimal discipline. And then as soon as COVID hit, then right after when we started to come back, now it's escalated. And so that was my point, is I'm saying, not saying that there was not discipline ever, but for about a 5-year period of time, very, very minimal suspensions. You know, I know Mr. Fanning and I, you know, that was having to put the Safe Schools report, you know, with listing all of the suspensions and things. And, you know, I think my first year in the district, I think we had, I mean, like 80 something suspensions. And then by the time, you know, we split the 2 schools, because at that point we were one middle school with 980 students. It was an adventure every day working with that large number. And so then when we split, it went down. And then I think just in general, discipline went down. And so now it seems like we're back to where we were probably, you know,
from 20 years ago.
Or even 9 years ago.
10
Yeah,
10 years.
10 years ago. And so it's going to take us, again, that cycle to get things back in place.
And that's what I would guess, yes, thank you. And certainly that tough love that we continue. I mean, it's, you know, the matrix, I'd certainly like to see the matrix. So I even asked Mr. Verdugo, I even never really see, again, not right now.
It's linked on your
It's
presentation.
linked, you just can't.
That way you can-
your presentation.
I just can't click it.
All right, I'll look at that then too, because that's something as a board we can talk about this summer too.
Right.
Because again, it's not that, it's what we can do to support you to be successful and the other principals who are on their way to San Antonio to be successful. Because parents, I mean, we've got textbooks out here, and yes, John Hayes, you are one of those parents. But very few parents look at the textbooks. Granted, more and more now are looking at curriculum because of what's going on. But generally speaking, they're pretty comfortable of how we're teaching, correct?
Right.
But what's the other aspect is the safety on campuses. Are more concerned, is their child safe, or is there fights going on? Is there drugs going on?
Right.
Then what's being, math textbook is being used,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's our job as a board, is how can we support that component of this? You know, what can we do? Granted, we're moving in the cameras and we're moving everything in that direction. And we don't want that gossip from, nothing wrong with Garrett's, but that's where we get the gossip at times, or the videos or everything else. And those are then that become, oh, look at this, oh, look at that. And that's, I guess, why I'm trying to say it to this. It's not, everybody's fault, but we've got to try to work together, sir.
Right, yeah. And social media has exacerbated a lot of that as well. I mean, so now with TikTok, then you have, Instagram, and you have Twitter and Snapchat. I mean, it's, we're seeing issues on the elementary level with harassment with Snapchat, and that was an issue, and we're talking as early as second, third grade with those type of issues. So it's, you can only imagine as they get older, and more technology, it's become an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of long-winded on things or whatever, but I was trying to just bring up situations because I've obviously been down that road.
Right.
I mean, seeing assaults and actually guys getting beat up faces and girls pulling hair out and everything to that effect, even back when you were in high school, when they had those gangs. I mean, we had gang problems actually in this area.
Right.
I mean, there really truly was. And it was bad in the early 90s. Those of us that were here. Granted, it was Nogales, but still, Rico kids were there predominantly. So anyway, I know Mr. Ramirez wanted to chat more on this, but I just wanted to bring that up because we certainly want to, and hopefully we continue getting more security and you get the security not holding hands out there. I used to always say that. Spread out, stop holding hands, stop talking about what you're going to do for the weekend.
Exactly.
And again, the cameras will be great, not only just for the high school, but hopefully we get for the middle schools too, because
district-wide.
There it is, because it's very important.
Tremendously.
Right. And continue being that tough love stuff. I mean, that's, being the guy that they respect and the guys that, but they know that you're stern too.
Right.
Yeah. That's the thing.
And the nice part is every single member of the admin team, we live here. And so we're in the Garretts. My house sees, I can see the school from my backyard now, and so we're there. Right there,
Right.
So it helps because then we're part of
Right.
walking down the street and I get part of the gossip as well.
Exactly.
So.
And the thing
it
is
helps us.
that sometimes they're not always going to tell Mr. Redugo or tell you.
Right.
And they're certainly not always going to tell me.
Right.
But they tell others, and we get it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that, it is there. I mean, and I'm not being dumb about it. We know it's there. We know we have drugs on our campus. Let's not be foolish about it.
Right.
We know we have it.
Yeah.
But it's, what are we doing to at least try to minimize it, right?
Right.
We know we have kids that fight. Except I'm really surprised our teachers are doing a fantastic job that there's no lying, cheating, or forgery or plagiarism. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's always usually one of those.
We have an app. They don't mess with the app.
Yep. Anyway, all right.
Thank you, Mr.
There it
President.
is. That's Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, sir. Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm quite chagrined. Yes, chagrined, not charged, like some people say every time I use that word, chagrined. I'm chagrined that we don't have the middle school principals here and that this whole thing is like, you're going to feel like the brunt of it is all going to come down on you, Hector,
Right.
which makes me feel bad.
It's okay.
So,
Yeah.
and Mr. Hicks, but I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, being so responsible here, because this is a very serious subject. So I'm going to start off with, and what you said about living here, Hector, I thought that was one of the greatest things when you took over, because your predecessor kept saying about how she was going to move down here and live here, and she never did. It's just a bunch of empty promises, and you have. And so you have vested interest too. So
Thank you.
I'm very happy that you're here, very happy.
Yeah, thank you.
Unfortunately,
Happy
Mr.
to
Beach
be
and I
here.
couldn't help you out and moving your stuff out, but we would have if we had a chance. But Hector, I want to preface myself by telling you that I'm only going to give you advice. Okay, I don't want you to walk away and say, my God, Mr. Ramirez has these really strong views with me, but he doesn't see the good that I'm doing. I don't want you to walk away like that.
Okay.
Because I do have some very harsh things to say about things that are going on right now. And I know from having friends that were administrators that when they hear from board members, sometimes we take it so personally and defensively, and I think people get defensive about it. But I do feel that we have some very serious problems right now, and that we're losing teachers as a consequence. And that in and of itself only makes the problems, in my personal opinion, only just get even bigger. They even become they gain momentum because replacing these people that were veteran teachers that are more experienced with possibly newer people can be quite a challenge as a principal. I mean, you go grab somebody that's not from here and doesn't speak the language or far away. And I'll tell you, like they say in Spanish all the time about those people, people say it out here all the time, se los comen vivos. You know, they come in and they just eat them alive because they're not, they walk into a totally different cultural situation. They don't understand our kids like we do. It's very difficult on them, very hard on them. So it only makes this, it only makes it snowball. That's the word I was looking for. And so at any rate, I feel that you have a lot of challenges. And my God, some of them, you know, they just like, you walked in, you came in with such energy. You know, you were so gung ho and you're young and have all that energy. I want to make this a great school. And you had brought I know the kind of reputation that you had at Sahuarita and how the kids loved you over there. I saw assemblies. I was there, right? You know, when I was a sub. Right. And it was really cool to see. And I know that you wanted to bring that here. I could see from the very beginning that, you know, you had that passion, you know, and I don't want you to lose that. After you hear the criticism, I don't want you to say, my gosh, I'm busting my booty. And then, you know, I'm hearing from these board members. So please, okay, I want you to think, just take it and try to run with it. And again, it's only advice. I won't micromanage. I know that the superintendent doesn't like us to be micromanaging and he takes that pretty hard. But that's just, again,
I understand.
I want that to be said. It's advice. All right. So I feel that we're losing people because the problems are very serious. And you have these challenges that other people have not had, like COVID. Okay. Yes, there's some truth to that COVID may have spawned some of these problems, right? And then you have opioids and other drugs that haven't been around. And, you know, when Steve was a assistant professor, he probably didn't see the stuff that you have to inherit now with all these opioids growing in our country. That's a serious problem. Much easier for these kids to bring drugs onto campus, stuff like that. But I feel you have a lot of challenges. And I want to ask you a question. How many security guards do we have right now?
We have 3 security guards, 2 male and 1 female.
Okay. Right. So that might be an issue too. I was happy to hear about the cameras. I think that's going to really take a lot of pressure off of you. Mr. Hicksman, I've heard so much about, by the way, I heard from administrators, because I don't have administrative experience, a lot of teacher experience, but not administrative experience. But I heard from friends who are administrators how it really falls upon the assistant principal to take on that on it. I've heard things about you being like Atlas, carrying on the way to the world, Mr. Hicksman. That's off to you. I know you're trying hard, and it's very difficult. I fully appreciate that. But I think that, you know, these opioids, these weedos and all these subtle things that, I mean, you were on campus one day, you're telling us how these kids have weedos, you know, and right there in the cafeteria. It's quite the challenge that you have here. And you've inherited a very difficult situation too, I think. And, but what was I going to tell you? Oh, when I was at Sahuarita and I was substituting, I noticed that you guys had that one lunch and I was really taken aback that the kids came into the room because I wasn't used to that. Right. And, you know, all of a sudden they want to come in and have lunch. You're like, my gosh, I've been working all day and now you're going to come in our 30 minutes free time, you know, and sit down. But then some of it I saw and I thought, okay, they do things differently here. But I see that you've kind of brought that idea of having this one lunch. Mm-hmm. And I wonder about that because I think having the staggered lunch may have been a good thing because you have that one lunch with all those kids. Right. That's tough. And what'd you say? You only have 3 security guards. That could be really rough for that kind of population. So I would maybe think about that. Again, you want to keep that one lunch. Your principal, that's your show, but I don't want to think about that one because that helps out. Mm-hmm. I mean, we know you want the kids to be all together and see the purpose of it, but that may be something that could help out. So what else here? Cell phones. Wow. In all the years that I worked at Rio Rico High School, I hope nobody gets offended here, but all the years that I worked at Rio Rico High School, we would take the phones away, give them to the admin, slap in the wrist, and back they went. It got so bad that many of us decided that we weren't gonna do it anymore because we were seeing that nobody was going to be firm enough and take on the parents, because you know that you're gonna have irate parents that are gonna come in if you try to take a phone away and say that we're gonna hang on to it for 7 days. Oh my gosh. You know, you're trying to build a rapport with the public, and that's kind of runs contrary. And I think about what you do. You have this great rapport you want to go on, that you want to keep with the students, but at the same time, you're trying to maintain the discipline. And that's quite the fine balance, because you bring those parents are going to come in. If you are really tough about the cell phones, they will come in. I've seen it where I am. And I told the superintendent, I wish you could see how strict they are. It's not perfect. Sure, you can have a kid take out a phone once in a while, maybe even get away with it. But let me tell you something. I feel that when I got there, I told the superintendent, this is before you came, how impressed I was at how strict they were with the cell phones and how nobody would take them out. I don't have to worry about that kind of thing. When I was here, yeah, we had some people that were strict and stricter than others. There are going to be people who say, a lot of people will say that when Kate and Steve were there, it was probably one of the times when people were pretty darn strict, but still we had loose ends with the phones. And many of the teachers would take it upon themselves to exercise the discipline within their own room. I had a colleague next door who taught math, Rich Gale. He'd take him, he'd lock him up in his cabinet. That's what his way of dealing with it, until he got in trouble with the principal, because the principal found out, said, no, you can't keep these phones and you're going to get in trouble with the law because you're hanging on to a personal device, and if something goes wrong with it, you're going to be. So they took that away from him, and then back they went at it, you know. And one of the reasons that we have these situations that the superintendent talks about with, well, look, it got on social media, was because we're not tough enough with the cell phones. I would invite you to come see the difference. There is a world of difference. And that's what I would really like to see. I would like to see, you know, you're not going to do it now. It's just like teaching. You know, when you start off the year and you're a strict teacher, they used to always say, well, don't smile till Christmas, you know, be tough and be strict and don't smile till Christmas. I used to say, don't smile till Cinco de Mayo, you know, be tough and be strict and don't put up with anything, you know, but it's hard, Hector. I'm not gonna lie to you. I envy you the task, because to really put a stop to the cell phone, you have to be consistent about it and tough and say no to these parents who are going to come in and they're going to insist that their child get their phone back, because that's what happens down there. And does the principal suffer for it? Oh, yes, he does. He could tell you story after story about how they come in and they're irate, yell at him in his office. And, you know, you take a lot by doing that. You take on a lot. Same with you, Mr. Hicks. Yeah, these parents are going to come in and grill you, you know, because they want their kid to have their phone back, but they're tough about it and they're consistent. And that's what I think that we need a little bit more of, is that consistency and enforcing those rules. Because if we don't have them, and if we're just going to give them a slap in the wrist and give them these phones back, it's not going to go away. And we're going to have people filming. You know, I was wondering why all these kids taking out their phones and feeling that they can whip them out and film like that. If that happened down there, they would have the cameras, but that's a good thing though. I think that's going to be a big game changer, Mr. Verdugo. I really do. I think all of you, it's going to take a lot of pressure off of you guys, and you'll be a lot happier too. And I'm very happy that we're spending this money on the technology to keep an eye on it, because it's really going to take a lot of pressure off of people. But you know, you got to get. I wouldn't say, like I said, you're going to have to do this when the school year starts. Again, it's a suggestion, you know, but you're going to have to start off really strong. And the teachers, people here were talking about how the teachers have to buy into it. That's right. They can't just complain, you know, and I would go back to them and say, hey, you know, these board members are getting on my case about this. What are you going to do to help out? Because you can't just complain to them. What's your solution? You have to have a solution when you're going to criticize. That I learned, you know, over my years as a teacher. I learned that pretty well from the administrators that I had over the years. You can't just complain. You have to have a solution, and you have to be willing to buy into this. If everybody says, okay, we're going to do this, and this is how we're going to resolve the problems, they have to buy into it. And they have to get out there, like Mr. Verdugo says, and they have to be part of the solution. They can't just be, you know, pointing fingers at you and saying you're at fault. But some of these people, you're gonna have to trust. Like, another thing that I see is that you walk in, right, and you don't know who you can trust and who you can't. And you're gonna have to have a little bit more faith and get them more involved. I know you do a lot of this. I fully realize it. Okay, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but you're probably saying, I already do that, get them involved. But I think that if I were you, I'm only giving you a piece of advice. I would go back to them and say, look, if you're gonna make board members aware of things they're going, then you too have to be part of the solution. You have to come, you can't just point the fingers at me. You gotta do something to help us out. And I would suggest that you too, Mr. Hicks, because you're going at it, from what I hear, a lot of the time alone. And I think that Mr. Hicks needs a lot more support. It's really his responsibility and your other assistant principal, but I would get some people on the campus who buy into this idea. I'll give you a real good example of this. When Mr. Fanning was my boss, I remember when he hired me, he was telling me about some of the problems on the campus. I said, all right, John, you give me the green light and I'll take care of it. I told him. And I had a couple of people that helped me. One who did it in a very unorthodox manner. He used to always talk about how he was the bull in the china shop. But he was effective though, very effective. And you have people like this on your campus that are willing to help you out and be tough. But you're gonna need that kind of help. And I tell you, when you came here, do you remember, I still feel this way. I said to you, I'm your greatest fan. I wanna see you be successful, because I wasn't too enamored with your predecessor, despite all the AP stuff and the glory. AP students do what AP students do, whether Mr. Magoo runs the school or whoever. Okay, but what about all the standardized scores? That wasn't so great. But I'm getting enough attention. I'm not going to keep talking about that. Let's stick to discipline. Okay. So, but I think that the cameras are going to help out a lot, and I think that you should go back and tell these people they can't just complain. But I'm telling you right now, if we don't get a grip on this, and this is also in the middle school, you're getting the brunt of this again. This also has to go on in the middle school before they get to you. And you inherited some tough classes too. That's another thing. After this meeting, you can ask Mr. Fanning. We dealt with a 7th grade class that are now juniors right now. And he can tell you right now, he's already nodding his head. He said, I never had a meeting in my whole life where I had so many people and I had to bring them to the library to talk to them individually about discipline. He walked into my room one day, 31 people serving detention, and it was quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And I was strict and tough, okay, with them, because we had some serious stuff going on. So in the bathrooms, you name it. But you got a lot of challenges. And unless you get a buy-in from the beginning, it's just not going to work. You can't do it on your own. And there's got to be a better plan. I like to hear that Mr. Hicks isn't just going at it. I know there are other people that take care of this one you too, but he's got a lot right now from what I understand. And I would just like to see more of that, more other people involved on the campus. Because if this doesn't go away, I thought, oh my God, you're gonna lose more people. We lost some pretty good people in the math department. We'll lose more if we don't take care of it. But please, for the love of God, don't go back home and say, oh my gosh, like, he doesn't see the good that I do, because I do. You brought a lot of good energy and a lot of positivity to the school and your spirit to it. And I don't want to see that go away.
Thank you.
That's a lot, I know.
Thank you. Feedback is one reason why we do it, and take the feedback right from each of you. And we've discussed too the feedback and that we have on our campus, so we can continue to improve. So certainly do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Hector, for taking the brunt of all this and listening to, again, this isn't about just Rio Rico High School. It's about all of us, again. And that's why I was just telling Mr. Verdugo, and what, Sean, thank you for bringing that up, because you're right, the county attorney, where are we at with that? Thank you on all that. I mean, this is something that we can still discuss,
right? Even
coming in June. We certainly want to support all.
Yeah. And we can, again, have all the other administrators that just happened to, I know that it was urgent for you. So that's why we had it on this date. And then the other principals were traveling at this time, and we were hoping that they were going to be able to participate, but their flight got canceled, and so they are, actually, they probably just landed a few minutes ago. So, yeah.
But certainly this is something we can have a retreat with Mr.
Yep.
Verdugo. I mean, it's really,
Yeah.
it's how we're working together again,
Exactly.
not just you two.
One, and we always say the high school is the flagship, but we're gonna get all the kids at the end of the day, and that's what we want to welcome. So it's important that we're here.
I imagine they've been a task force for 2 years from the K-8 level studying all this work. And so they would have a lot to contribute, I'm sure.
Exactly. Yes,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Hector.
it.
Thank you, Hector.
All right. Item C, propose and prioritize topics and possible dates and times for future board meetings. Mr. Hayes.
Just one thing that I can think of at the moment, given the news in the paper this morning, and the scandal happening with the assessment of certain properties, is there any reason that we would expect to see changes in or back monies from something like this? What are the ramifications for our district financially? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Beach.
I got nothing.
You have nothing?
Nada.
Mr. Ramirez.
Sir, I have nothing. Thank you.
I think I had some, but I don't remember what it was, Mr. Ramirez. You and I were talking about it and I said, well, maybe I'll bring it up as a topic. Must not have been very important. We both forgot. Or it was too long of a day.
Is it better I put it on the, put it on? it's
We'll
on-
remember
it
something,
may be
yeah.
on the list already.
Yeah, no, it's not, but that's fine. It's all good. All right,
And
certainly, yes.
yeah, thank you. Just again, a reminder, our next meeting is May 10th, but I have a recommendation to the board with all of the events coming up and then with graduation and all of the transitions that we would cancel our May 24th meeting. And then we would resume in June. So it's my recommendation that we cancel because I know that the board is going to be very active and that's, at least 3 night events in the week prior. So I prefer to respect your time. And so I would recommend that we cancel the May 24th meeting, and that would be an action item.
All right, do I hear a motion then to cancel the May 24th, 2022 board meeting as presented?
So moved. Second.
Second, any further discussion? John, did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye then.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, there we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, approval of the consent agenda. Any matter of consent agenda will be removed from the consent agenda, discussed the regular agenda item on the request of any board member. Mr. Ramirez, you got, how many you got on there?
Well, let's see, number 3, and number 4.
3 and 4.
Wait. Sure. No, I'm sorry. 3 and 5.
3 and 5. Once, going twice. All right.
Gone.
All right, Mr. Beach, you didn't have any?
No.
All right, I've got number 2. Okay, we still have a quorum because Mr. Hayes, you're still here, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
All right. Okay, with that said then, do I hear a motion to approve and accept the consent agenda as presented with the removal of 2, 3, and 5?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
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 Aye, passes 3. Good. No votes. All right, I get the first one because mine's number 2. And this is for the high school, approval of high school athletics, soccer and football outgoing seniors. I read the memo and all that. I think that's a fantastic idea, but I hope we're also doing this for other sports. Like the girls basketball team and like the girls soccer team and the girls softball or soccer and anything else that we're doing across the line, not just singular for boys football and boys soccer.
Yeah, those came up just with recent requests, but we already talked about just doing a blanket one the next meeting so we can.
Okay, I just want to make sure Title IX is right there, because I'm a big support, I've always been that guy.
Yeah.
In fact, more for the female sports than the guy sports. That was me.
You can cross the gender off of Title
Yeah.
IX, people.
Well, yeah. I'm still old school, Title IX. So, yeah, I was just asking that. I just want to make sure, because I want to make sure that all across the sports, no matter who it is, that we offer that opportunity for even next year. Baseball, track, whatever. I mean, a lot of seniors, yeah, I mean, I think that's a fantastic idea. I applaud you. You know how many seniors have always asked that?
It just came up in conversation this time, so.
I think it's a fantastic idea. If they want to buy it at a price that is reasonable, I think that's a fantastic idea.
Thank you.
Very good. I commend you for that. That's my other part of this. All right. So do I hear a motion then to approve of the approval of number 2?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Number 3. Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, thank you, sir. I just wanted to know from the superintendent what's up with this, because I was kind of confused after I read. I was wondering.
With
Did we
cancellation of
charge
fees.
this year, and are we giving it back?
So we did not collect it this year. And so it was, so that because we had a ban, I don't know, Mr. Shadler can explain better, I guess he oversees that, but it was, our band teacher was not able to fulfill their requirement of attending events. And so we did not, and that's what we normally use those fees for band. And so we did not take those fees in. Is that correct?
That's correct. It was just that we were not able to attend the festivals and so on for that particular school. So to go and ask parents to collect a fee that is specifically designed for the festivals that they did not get to attend just didn't feel right. So the principal made the request and can we not collect fees? But in order to waive the fee, that requires a board action. So that's the only thing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Well, if we didn't collect it, why are we?
Because you approved.
You have to do it.
Yeah, because you approved the fees prior, and so that we should have collected it, but
Okay,
we
I got you
didn't.
now.
So,
It's just a little confusing. That's all. Okay. I got you. I'm
yeah,
good.
thank you.
Now I had a question for that. So if a parent who's a band parent and we're not paying a fee for that. What if I contributed a tax credit to that, but there's no fee for it? And since there's no fee, the tax credit doesn't play onto that.
Well, the tax credit would roll in and would be used for.
Yeah, no, but for me.
Only eligible groups. That
Yeah.
charge a fee.
I mean, that waives, I don't know if there is one. I just
No,
threw that out there.
It would still be for band.
For band in general,
In
there's a
general.
fee, but this is, I apologize. I'm answering for you. I'm sorry. But this is for those specific charges for the festivals. There's still a band fee.
Okay, to
But
participate.
Those
So, I don't know.
were, those
Ms.
were
Brown- Ms. Brown
additional,
is
I
here.
So
think.
there's a
or-
band fee for participation.
No. So the memo that's in front of you is to suspend band fee completely. So it will not impact any tax credit contributions because band and athletics programs are specifically defined in the statute that regulates the tax credit program. So there doesn't have to be a fee in order for those programs to collect tax credit contributions. If you recall, during the years that we were under COVID, we completely suspended the fees for athletics at Rio Rico High School because our athletes, well, we were a period of time where we had no events, and then there were others where we had limited, or it was just not the same experience for the student. So the board decided to suspend athletic fees completely. It did not impact any tax credit contributions for those programs. They're different than extracurricular clubs such as Stuco and like the cartoon club. Those must have a fee in place, not athletics and not band.
So we don't need a participation fee for band for a parent to still
In order
contribute.
to trigger a tax credit, no. Nor for athletics.
That's good to know for this coming. All right. You just answered another question for me later then. All
But
right.
what you're suspending applies for everything. It's not just only for participating in festivals or anything. It's a complete suspension of the band fee for middle schools only. Right?
Calabasas.
Calabasas only. I'm sorry. Not Cotimonte.
Isela, is that suspension just for this year or the years coming?
Yes, this is only for this fiscal year.
Yeah, so I wonder if we need to approve to suspend the band fees for the 2021-22 school year. And might as well do another motion to approve the fee for the 23-24.
We will bring that back, I believe.
That comes back
Yeah,
at a.
so for
So
the
two birds with one
22,
stone.
for the 22-23 fiscal year, we will bring a complete list of fees for your review.
Okay.
And then at that point, you'll be approving the fees for next fiscal year.
Okay.
Yeah, so we bring an entire list of
Correct.
all
Of all the
so you can
programs
see
that have a fee.
everything.
Okay.
But thank you for trying to get ahead though.
Yep.
That's where my question's coming in, but I'm saving it for that.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. All right, do I hear then approval of number 3?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion, hearing none. All in favor, please, by saying aye.
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 All right, Mr. Number 5 is the cell phone addendums. Mr. Maris.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could fill me more in on this. Why is everybody getting $50 a month for the cell phone?
That it's always part of their contract, part of their administrative contract.
So it's always been the case.
It's always been the case, yes.
So why are we voting on that now? Why wasn't it in their contract? Why are we?
Because it's a separate addendum. And so it's been in their contract and so now it's a separate addendum. And so that's why we're bringing it to the board.
What's the justification for it? I mean, why doesn't the teacher get a $50 addendum?
Because administrators have to have their phone on call. And so it's one of their benefits that we have as part of the administrative benefits.
Where do the funds come from for this?
For M&O.
I'll just say that it's been a practice since I was even back in the days of administration in the 90s. As administrators, we were given phones. We didn't get, the district gave us phones. So we had phones to use. Some chose to have their own phone, and the district at that time where you're working would pay them a $50 stipend as well. Some didn't want that school phone. But we were, as administrators, assistant principals, athletic directors, we were given phones. Business office people, not everyone, but certain components of it. We were all given phones then, and that was 24 years ago now.
With the stipend, Mr. Kramer, with the $50?
No, we were just given it. NUSD just gave us phones. And we just had those phones. They were just there for us to be used because we were considered, again, weekends or whatever, in case something happens at the school, they could get a hold of us. I'm just telling you, Ray, the history of that. And I know that since I've been on the board, that we've always done that.
It's been that way since I've been in the district.
But
Well, the reason I mention this again is because, again, I've never seen this on the consent agenda and all the time I've been here. Why now?
I remember approving it before. I just always took it for granted because I knew what it was.
But Mr. Verdugo, I don't remember seeing this on the consent agenda before.
It's normally part of the contract. And so
But why not this year then? Was it not normally part of the contract?
I can't answer that question. Ms. Quiroz, I don't know if you want to answer it because
If you can't answer that question, then I can in good conscience vote for it.
Good evening. So our certified administrator contracts include a paragraph because that entire group all qualify for a stipend, but the people listed there, they're not certified administrators and not everybody in their job category would qualify to have that paragraph in their contract. So that's why we give them an addendum.
And next year, will this be part of their contract?
Yes, we can make it part of the individual contract if we choose to, but normally it's a group. These individuals are not part of a specified group that all of them receive that benefit.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Julieta. Appreciate it.
All right, then, do I hear a motion to approval of the attached members to receive cell phone addendums for the 2022-23 fiscal year at the rate of $50 a month?
So move.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? 4-0. All right. Yeah, governing board meeting evaluation. John Hayes, how on your perspective from being above us, how was it?
Not bad. It would have been nice to have had some video to be able to see things, but hopefully we get that worked out later. Just the only thing is, the only audio issue at all is when everybody is clapping, the audio goes dead.
And you weren't getting the PowerPoints?
Yeah, can you see the
I can
board
see the
now?
PowerPoint. I mean, you know, like when you're bringing up the students and whatnot.
Okay.
You couldn't see them because you were seeing the back of the heads and stuff, correct?
No, it was.
There was no feed.
Yeah, it was technical difficulties from technical user difficulties.
Well, so if they're coming this way, are we gonna be able to see their faces? If like what Mr. Hayes is, just John was saying, they're up here, and they're looking at us, are the cameras gonna be able to capture their faces or just their top of their heads?
Well, we're working on that. So they came and gave us about an hour's worth of training on Friday just to get us through this meeting. So we're gonna go back with some different things and they're gonna help rearrange things and reconfigure. So
And
we're
possibly
working- it probably
additional
take 2
camera.
or 3 meetings. I hope not, but to work out the kinks and make sure that we know what we're doing.
You've got John Fanning, that he could walk around the room as a student, as a principal, as a disgruntled parent, and he could get all the camera shots off him.
Yeah, and we're also looking at a camera that was supposed to be here to face the audience is what you're
Right,
asking.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that we're working on, as well as a handheld. Because you see the panel over there that controls a lot of the screens. And so we're supposed to have a handheld one so that Shannon can then navigate the room as well.
So you could go from camera 1 to camera
Come
2.
to, yes, correct.
Anybody telling you?
Yes.
Well, you be the producer and, wow,
So watch out.
yes.
The other thing I would point out is if we do the meetings like this, there really does need to be somebody monitoring the chat.
Now a feature we thought was turned off. So.
Did you see some things, John?
We were not
There was at least one other person who commented that they would have liked to have seen video because I guess they were watching for their children on the for the presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hayes.
That was a very good evaluation. That's why you gave us some good perspectives and feedback.
From above.
Yes, from above. Indeed.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So, second.
All in favor, please, saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, pass 4-0.
Did you vote on the cell phone? Number 5?
Yes.
You did? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Both of us.
Yes. Time is 7:39. It's the longest board meeting we had. It was supposed to be the shortest. Oh, I left my phone in my house. Jeez.
Thought it was gonna be quick.
But
I try to keep it.
it's productive.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was.
Mr. Hayes is
I do.
back. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Green things.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yep. Always.
We gotta talk about it.
Still gonna talk about it.
I was concerned about sure if you think. Good job. And have switched out to come here.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.